All this brings me to the March on Washington happening tomorrow. According to local permits, about 50,000 people are expected to attend. It's being held 58 years after Martin Luther King Jr. led the historic March on Washington with an estimated 250,000 people on hand. Marches in Atlanta, Miami, Houston, and Phoenix will also take place on Saturday. Civil rights groups will be calling on President Biden and Congress to pass the For the People Act and the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. They'll also be marching to end the filibuster, fight for reparations, D.C. statehood, climate change, and police reform. My next guest, who's scheduled to speak at the rally in Washington tomorrow, has been organizing marches all summer, not only for voting rights, but also for a $15 minimum wage. Joining me now is President of Repairers of the Breach and co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign, Bishop William Barber. Bishop Barber, always nice to have you on the show. So what are you expecting tomorrow? What do you what do you want to get out of tomorrow's March on Washington?
Well, I want people to understand tomorrow is a day. It's not the end. It's not the beginning of protests. It's not the end. It's a part of it. I want folk to understand that Dr. King never led a one-issue march, and that's why I'll be at the Good Trouble event that's happening at the Lincoln Memorial. There are other events going on, and I say to people, whatever banner you can get under as long as that you're in the battle. We've got to send a clear message to the Congress and to the White House. You know what you just said about the Texas State House? That's more reason why we have to have the For the People's Act. That's more reason why the House must hold the line. They cannot send that infrastructure bill back to the Senate without a commitment that the Senate is going to pass the For the People's Act with all of its provisions, pass the Voting Rights Restoration Act, and I say pass $15 a living wage. They got to play hardball. You know, Manchin and them with his one vote, and filibuster said, I'm not moving until you all give me this. Well, there are 100 members of the Progressive Caucus and 56 members of the Black Caucus, and they have to say the same thing now. We're not moving anywhere until we get commitments on protection, the infrastructure of our democracy. And that's what this rally is a part of saying, and what we have to do.
You're talking there about holding that legislation hostage, but have you spoken to anybody in the House who is willing to do that? Has Speaker Pelosi given you any indication that she's willing to do it? Has the members of the Congressional Black Caucus indicated they will be willing to do it? Because it comes at a high political cost. It would be stalling the Biden agenda, and I think they're trying to stay on the right side of Joe Biden.
Well, actually, I think it enhances the Biden agenda, because it's not that you're saying you won't pass it. What you're saying is we'll do all of it, but not some of it. And I believe if the right pressures there are matching a break. And cinema breaks. See, they want that infrastructure. So you can have that. I want infrastructure. I actually want $10 trillion. Poor People's Campaign, we think it should be $1 trillion a year so it can reach down to poor communities. But you're not going to get that and then destroy the infrastructure of our democracy. I mean, what doth it profit America if you hold on to it, if you get an infrastructure bill and hold on to a filibuster and lose the soul of the country? So we had a meeting with religious leaders and impacted people with Nancy Pelosi on this past week and said very clearly to her, now she wouldn't talk about the Senate rules, but what she did say and what others have said is that they are committed to get fight for everything. What these marches should say Saturday and across the country is that we shouldn't have to ask them to be committed. They have said that this is the worst attack on voting rights since the Civil War. We know 32 million people make less than $15. We shouldn't have to tell the CBC and the Progressive Caucus, hold the line, tell the Senate we'll do all of it, but you're not going to get a piece of it, and then we lose our democracy and lose the very infrastructure of who we are as a people and what we claim to be as a democracy. So that's what we're going to be saying. This is a time to hold the line. It's not a time to break the line. By the way, Charlie, real quickly, we went in West Virginia yesterday. And people said Manchin wouldn't move. Yeah, he won't move if you meet with him in D.C. But we had minors, we had 100 cars, we had a Marmot. Do you know in the AP he came out in the story and said, "Wait a minute, I want to meet with the Poor People's Campaign. I want to do this. I got a way to get to 15. I have a way to rate." Now he wasn't talking like that until we put his own people in his face. Now we're going back again. I'm in conversations now with Willie Nelson and Tyler Children. Even Patty Austin called, says she wants to get in. So we're gonna have to sit. We're not gonna stop. The point is, That's what I want people to hear tomorrow. Tomorrow is a day. It cannot be all you do, right? It wasn't that way in '63. There was actions before the March on Washington and actions afterwards. So if we come together for a day, that's good. But we can't stop there. We got to keep this pressure on.
So if Manchin is saying that he wants to meet with the Poor People's Campaign, what are you going to say to Joe Manchin that he hasn't already heard?
Well, first of all, I'm not going to go in there by myself. I'm going to take his people in there with me. I'm going to take and let them lay him out, and then say very clearly that we're going to fight him all the way. And I hope that the House will hold that line. And we're going to say to him, man, what is wrong with you? You're hurting your own people. See, what happened to him yesterday is the AP, when they wrote that story, they compared him to the corporate bosses in the 1920s that were hurting the miners, and he doesn't like that. He comes from a mining family. He doesn't want to be seen. He really wants to be slick. See, he doesn't want that to be seen. And you have to expose him at his core and show the people that he has fooled. Because for my person, Charles, I've talked to people over and over. Manchin never told them when he ran in the primary that if I got elected, I'll be against voting rights. I'll be against $15 in the union. He never said any of that. So in essence, he has lied to his own people. And part of it is exposing. But we'll sit down with him. Now, I do think this time, though, we want Charles Blow in the room and another news organization in the room. Because I don't have any interest in just going in a room with him quiet and then he coming out saying something else. We got to keep this pressure on him every day. And that's what the marches should symbolize tomorrow. It shouldn't symbolize that we all got together for the anniversary march to remember Dr. King. No, it should symbolize we're not stopping. We've been doing it before the 28th. We're going to keep on after the 28th. It should say to the lawyers, if this bill drops, you got to go to court right now and fight. Mass litigation, mass action, and we need mass legislation. That's what it should say. And it should say to the leaders, black and white and others, hold the line in the House. You've got power, hold that line.
Right. Now, the thing that scares every politician is they lose support among their own voters. Do you believe that Manchin is losing that support, or do you believe you can make him lose it and threaten him enough with that loss of support that he will change his mind?
I do. I think that all over West Virginia, you know, there was a poll out that says 79% of West Virginia don't agree with what he's doing right now. And, you know, he wanted to make us think that voting rights was just a black issue. But by us going up there and showing the nation and showing West Virginia, no, white folk from the mountains and black folk are being hurt by what he's doing. 350,000 people are making less than a living wage because of him, their senator, while his family is getting rich. And the more and more you expose that, I have been told time and time again, this is the first time Manchin has ever really been challenged like this, and challenged in the street. Most of the time he's able to, you know, slick himself around and wobble around and skirt around. But this time, and he really doesn't know what to do with it, because it's not just me or it's somebody coming in, it's his own people right there in the state. When I left the hotel this morning, 2 white women and 1 Indian woman said, we were there yesterday, we're gonna start organizing more people. It's high time that somebody came here and told the truth. Now, I was on another news station, I won't call the name, and one of the white senators, she asked me, well, what about him what about the Republicans might win if he gets put out? What if people start voting in that state and elect the Democrat who really cares about the bulk of the people?
Bishop Barber, thank you so much for joining me tonight. And if you get that meeting with Manchin, I will be right there with a pen and pad. So just let me know. Thank you so much, sir. I appreciate it.